In this very special episode of Small Town Big Deal, we want to honor the courage, self-sacrifice, and devotion of every man and woman who has ever worn the uniform of our great nation.
And we want to thank our partners at Bad Boy Mowers for sponsoring our second annual Salute to Veterans, and for honoring and for paying tribute to all of those who have defended our country and our freedoms time and time again.
And we want to thank you for watching as we express a nation's gratitude in a salute to veterans. Welcome to Small Town Big Deal. I'm Rodney Miller.
And I'm Jan Carl.
Almost every military conflict in the history of our nation has involved some type of mountainous terrain.
And training for that kind of combat happens here in the mountains of North Georgia, creating the most elite soldier in the world.
And one day a year, they let us civilians inside the gates to get a glimpse at the world of the Army Ranger. From above, the scene looks picturesque and peaceful. But these mountains help some of America's most feared soldiers prepare for battle.
This is Camp Frank D. Merrill. Since 1951, it's been home to the 5th Ranger Training Battalion and is home to one of 3 intense assessment and selection programs that must be passed if you want to join the elite ranks of the U.S. Army Rangers.
How would you describe a ranger for someone who's heard the term but they're not really sure what it is?
So a ranger is someone who is specially trained but also has the mental and physical fortitude to go farther than anybody else.
The mountain phase of a ranger's training happens here in the Appalachian foothills of Georgia. The base is near the small town of Dahlonega, which lies about 70 miles north of Atlanta and has a population of about 7,000.
Once a year at the battalion's annual open house, the public is allowed a rare glimpse of some of the skills mastered here.
We have a hand-to-hand demonstration, we do a mountaineering demonstration, and we do our Rangers in Action, which is all the helicopters and whatnot. It allows us to kind of give back to the community a little bit.
The Rangers put on quite a show, and there's no doubt they know how to make an entrance.
You have to take a moment to take in this view because Dahlonega is just a beautiful place. You just take in the crowd. It's a great day at the office. You can't beat the view, right?
The Rangers make extreme soldiering look easy. That's due to some of the toughest training the Army has to offer.
How many actually make it through Ranger School?
Maybe 30–40% from starting to actually graduating.
The United States Army Ranger is a soldier that can do the impossible on terrain that seems impassable.
These Rangers we're seeing today are among the very few who made it through Ranger School.
Rodney and I got roped into trying rappelling, a first for both of us.
Doing great.
You know, it doesn't give you a great deal of confidence when you're just getting ready to do your first ever rappel and your instructor kisses the wall. I think that made me descend even slower.
Get some speed.
Who said more speed?
Step by vertical step, I made it down.
She crushed it.
It was a lot farther up than 65 feet to me.
Then it was Rodney's turn.
You don't have to. I want to do it.
You know, I've always hated heights, and looking down from that cliff, I'll admit, I was scared.
This?
But surrounded by Rangers who fearlessly face danger all the time. When the instructor gave me a chance to back out, it wasn't the option I took.
Good job! Good job! So I'm very proud of him. He did it. I wouldn't do my biggest fear. I wouldn't do it. No.
When I got to the bottom, relief.
This is something you don't see every day. U.S. Army Rangers dropping from helicopters. They are trained to land safely on the ground even when their helicopter can't. The crowd is riveted, and so are we, especially during the air assault demonstration's big finish. Take one helicopter in the air, 4 Rangers on the ground, and a whole lot of line.
Wow. What looks like the world's most insane rope trick is actually a way for a helicopter to rapidly extract Rangers from impossible to reach places. Anything from a mountaintop to water.
All right, Diamondbacks. They are the most deadly pit vipers in North America.
Here's another big hit with the kids, the snake demonstration. Now, who knew the Rangers would have a collection of live snakes and a team of expert Rangers to wrangle them?
I don't do snakes.
Like them or loathe them, if you want to be a Ranger, you have to learn about snakes for the swamp phase of Ranger School that takes place in Florida.
I think it's time to go.
Okay, Jen, I got this one.
Rodney, you got 14 rounds?
Are you ready? Push it on fire and then hold the trigger down.
While the weapons on display are impressive, there are moments in any war that come down to hand-to-hand combat.
Should a Ranger run out of ammo or his weapon malfunction, he is trained to fight using any means necessary.
Steve Johnson, your face looks awful familiar.
For veteran Rangers, Camp Merrill's open house serves as a family reunion for these brothers in arms.
We know that we're unique, and the country always looked to us to travel farther, faster, with more equipment than any other soldier, and we did our best to do that.
We dedicate our special salute to veterans to U.S. Army Colonel Daniel Frickensmith, who served his country for 25 years, including numerous deployments in the combat zones of Iraq and Afghanistan.
He was a loyal and highly decorated soldier. Holder of 2 advanced degrees, his last assignment was a professor at the National War College.
We learned of Dan's service through his parents, who are steadfast backers of Small Town Big Deal.
Our recognition of Colonel Frickensmith's selfless service symbolizes the physical and psychological sacrifices made by all the men and women of the U.S. Armed Services since 9/11.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to Small Town Big Deal.
The largest global conflict in history is undeniably World War II. And it's hard to imagine, but 16 million Americans served in the armed forces during that time.
You know, training took place all over the U.S., but there was one base in Georgia that has a unique place in history. It's where brothers banded together. Located near the South Carolina border in northeast Georgia is the remote town of Toccoa, population about 8,000. But during World War II, it was the home of Camp Toccoa, a training facility for nearly 17,000 paratroopers.
The men who trained here were immortalized in the book and miniseries Band of Brothers. They jumped behind enemy lines into Normandy on D-Day, June 6, 1944.
We had people who came to this community from all over this country at a time when people were hungry and were coming out of the Depression. And there were young men who had volunteered for service. But if they were willing to get that extra $50 a month for additional training, they came to Camp Toccoa and tried to be paratroopers.
Today, the train depot where those thousands of young men arrived for training is home to the Currahee Military Museum.
The museum's collection immortalizes the brave men who trained at Toccoa, and it offers up a real-life glimpse of what time was like back then.
It's the story. Every man who trained here had a story. Together they made history.
And one of those stories belonged to retired Army First Lieutenant Reed Pelfrey. I'm sitting beside the guy who was the 15th guy to jump out of the very first airplane with 20 guys in it that led the invasion into Normandy. Did you know that day you were making history, that this was monumental?
We had no idea. All we wanted to do was get out of the plane, get on the ground, because we felt more vulnerable, really, because we couldn't fight back. They could shoot at us, but we couldn't suppress their fire.
It's one thing to visit a museum and look around, but it's another to get a personal tour from someone who lived it. How'd you feel when you got on the ground in Normandy?
Lost. We were about a mile off the feet from where we initially were supposed to set up. We wanted to live, that's all we wanted to do. This is a mock-up of what our old jumpsuits look like, and you fall about 22 feet a second.
Did your chute take a lot of bullets?
I didn't look at it.
You felt a lot.
I felt like it. I was the only man in France and everybody else was shooting at me.
Mr. Pelfrey was just 23 years old the day he jumped into Normandy. Little did he and his fellow paratroopers know that they were changing the course of world history.
This is where I jumped. 506, 501 in here, 506, 501 in there. Big gun position right in here. That's what we were.
That's what you were trying to take out?
Yeah, we had to take that out.
Wow. Now I see why all those stories you were telling me about all the women, I see why they were after him now.
That's after that jump pay.
After that jump pay, huh?
Reed Pelfrey went on to receive a Bronze Star and was also awarded the Legion of Honor by France. And all veterans of D-Day are still being honored at Toccoa every year in another more arduous way, with the D-Day at Currahee 10K D-Day Run.
The run goes straight up Currahee Mountain, the same mountain the paratroopers ran up during their training.
Good job!
Since the first run in 2012, thousands have made the heart-pounding climb, running the same grueling 3 miles up and 3 miles down that soldiers did 80 years ago.
Let me shake your hand, man.
Retired Army Sergeant Nate Watson's grandfather was one of them. Tell us a little bit about what it means for you to be here today.
It's just something that I feel like I'm following in history to get to run at Currahee with my grandfather training here. And I think it's very important that we remember D-Day and remember what those great patriots from World War II did on this day.
Wow.
Everybody has a reason for running. Carlton Lowry was there for his late father-in-law, Popeye Wynn, a member of East Company.
We're doing this in honor of Popeye and all the men that trained with him. We're trying to keep their memory alive.
Tell me, how did it feel to run up literally the same mountain that the Band of Brothers ran up?
I'll tell you, it was very, very tough, and it felt very special. Every step I took, I thought about those guys and the sacrifices they made.
Both the 10K Run and the Military Museum are helping to keep the flame alive for those who gave their last full measure of devotion to the country and the freedoms we still enjoy today.
For veterans, transition from military life to civilian life at times can be really difficult.
But with the right partner, those difficulties can be more easily conquered.
And in some cases, even life-saving.
Melly, salute! Yes!
Melly is a service dog, specially trained to care for veterans whose own service left them with injuries, some visible, some hidden. Stephanie's husband, Andrew Carlson, who goes by Carl, is a veteran diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder.
I had a lot of trouble regulating my emotions and feeling like I was in control of stuff, which was definitely a struggle for a long time.
That's it.
Melly was specifically matched with Carl and is now a member of their family. One of the many remarkable things she's trained to do is to break up Carl's stress cues.
If I'm tapping my foot, she'll break that up. She will put her chin on my leg, and then if I don't pay enough attention to her, she'll jump on my lap, and then she can help me snap back to reality a little bit more.
Melly is one of the many service dog graduates of Warrior Canine Connection, headquartered in Boyds, Maryland, about 27 miles from Washington, D.C.
Down.
Good.
There's no cost to veterans who receive one of their extraordinary dogs. Donations and volunteers who believe in helping our veterans keep their mission going.
Yes, good girl.
Another way they honor those who have served is that every dog from Warrior Canine Connection is named after a veteran. Melly's namesake is Melissa Stockwell, the first female American soldier to lose a limb in active combat. Melissa has gone on to wear another uniform for America, that of Team USA in the Paralympic Games.
Look at you.
The newest recruits here, a platoon of puppies, will go through about 2 years of special training. But the program is even more impactful than you might first imagine.
Rick Yount developed a unique concept at Warrior Canine Connection. It's called Mission-Based Trauma Recovery. Their mission? To assist in training the dogs. It helps these recovering warriors with their own healing process.
When did the Veteran Connection come for you?
So right around 2005, with the war in Iraq and Afghanistan going on, PTSD was being talked about a lot. I knew that veterans were waiting for years to get a service dog, and I also knew what went into the training of the dogs and what you could learn through the training of the dogs. And I thought, who would take it more to heart in training a service dog for a veteran than a fellow veteran?
This means each dog isn't only helping his or her future owner's life. About 60 other veterans can be positively impacted along the way.
As a veteran myself, it's really important to me to support the community and help as many veterans as I can. So Joanne is 2 years old. She's going to be placed soon. She's mastered all the skills that they look for.
Good. We're teaching the dog patience and impulse control and great communication. And so those are all things that I think that we as individuals, especially transitioning out of the military, can also apply to our own lives.
We also learned if a veteran experiences night terrors, their dog can be trained to intercede, turning on a light or gently nudging their veteran until they awaken. And in some cases, these priceless canine partners, or even the action of training them, can be life-saving.
There is so much suicide among our veterans. Do you think that some of our veterans we're saving through these programs, or at least helping them to the point where they can get enough help where they won't make that choice?
I know that it has. There's no doubt. I just spoke with a veteran who hadn't talked to anybody in a week since he'd started the program when I arrived. He tried to kill himself before coming into this program. He went from an acute inpatient to this, group setting. The mission and the dog are what pulled him out of that darkness.
Sit.
Yes.
Yes.
Sit. Jan and I had the opportunity to work with one of the Warrior Canine Connection's exceptional trainers and get a feel of what it's like to be part of this rewarding work.
These dogs are trained to retrieve anything that their veteran might drop or need. So a cell phone is a pretty common thing. Tommy, that's it, get it. And so I direct him to the phone with my hand, bring it here, give, yes.
Get it, get it, get it, get it,
There it
get
is.
it, bring it, bring it, bring it,
You're gonna give her a nice firm bring it here.
bring it here, bring it here, bring it here.
Good.
Good, yes.
Fortunately, these dogs will not be depending on us to train them, but others who know what they are doing. And one day soon, they'll be ready to serve a veteran who served our country well.
If you know of a service member or veteran who would like to learn more about WCC's no-fail mission to train dogs for fellow warriors, or if you'd like to help by donating to their mission, visit warriorcanineconnection.org.
And if you are a veteran who is struggling or know of a veteran who is, please call the Veterans Crisis Line at 1-800-273-8255. We'll be right back.
We hope you've enjoyed this very special edition of Small Town Big Deal, a salute to veterans. And we want to thank our partners at Bad Boy Mowers for making this episode possible.
That's right. It's through Bad Boy that we all have had the chance to remember and honor and pay tribute to all of those who have sacrificed so much, all those veterans who have helped keep our nation great.
And may we always be a grateful nation. I'm Rodney Miller.
And I'm Jan Carl.
Join us again next week when once again we celebrate the great stories from across America.
Get it? Good. That's it. That's it. That's it. Bring it here. Bring it here.
She's trying it.
Bring it here. Yes, yes, yes.
Good job.
Yes.